Hope everyone's having a good NAB so far. I have been. My name is Maria Gudjohnsen. I'm a 3D artist from Iceland. I've been freelance for my entire career, lived and worked in multiple places. Originally from Iceland, then I was in Germany for a while, and then New York. So I have like a client base from all over Europe and America. I am a generalist, so I just do whatever I'm asked to do. I mostly get hired for just my own personal style, but then I also do commercial projects and basically whatever I need to do. I have a master's degree in computer arts, and I also dabble in the fine arts world, so I put up exhibitions with digital art. And I mostly work in cinema. I also do Houdini, Redshift Octane. Today we're going to go over the motion tracker inside of cinema. So I'm going to show you how to take real life footage and get that into cinema and overlay some 3D elements and render it out. And we want to keep it kind of short and efficient, just get content out of it. I'm going to show you how easy it is to work with a motion tracker. It is really efficient, and the auto tracking features are really good. So if you specifically want to do content for like social media or whatever, it's like really easy and fun to play with. We're gonna go through that. The motion tracker takes in PNG footage, so we have to start off by converting that to PNGs. I have this video that I shot just with my iPhone at my desk at work. Nothing special. It's my desk. I placed a little star sticker there in the middle, and I'm going to show you why in a second. But what you want to do is just bring that into After Effects. We're going to work in real size. We want to keep an eye on our frame rate. I'm going to be using 24 frames per second, and we want to make sure that we have that throughout the project. Where is it? This one. Just do that. Also make sure that is 24 FPS. I've already rendered this out, but just render it out, PNG sequence, and when that's done, you can open up Cinema. Really important, we want to make sure that our FPS is again at 24 frames per second. Control D to bring that up in your project settings. And we want to have the right resolution as well. Good. We're ready to go. We're going to go to Tracker, Motion Tracker. And we're ready to bring in our footage here. There we go. And you can just kind of scrub through it. It's going to automatically resample it. We can bring that up to 100 because our footage is it's not that heavy, just shot on an iPhone. Really simple. We want to create a background object that's going to give us. Let me close this. Okay, well, we don't need the background object for now. We'll do it differently. But yeah, we're gonna resample that to 100%. You can press play and then it's gonna cache it. We don't really need to do it because, again, the footage is really light. We're gonna go to our 2D tracking tab and we're gonna click Create Auto Tracks. And now you can kind of see how the trackers work. They like to grab onto edges and contrasting edges, so it's gonna really like these dark corners. You can see it didn't place any on the white desk because that's just white flat surface. And that's the reason why I put that star sticker in there. And you can also select the number of tracks. 300 is good for now. That's 300 of these purple points. You could go up to like 1,500 if you have like complex footage, but usually simple and easy is what works with the auto tracker, so just gonna keep it at 300 for now. I'm gonna go through that and auto track it. That's gonna go through each point, each frame, and just basically follow those edges. There we go. And now if we scroll through, it's kind of grabbing on. We lost a lot of them, but that's actually fine. You can do this multiple times. You can even just go in the middle of your timeline, do that again, do that again. And it's gonna try placing those dots down. That's actually fine for now. And you see it didn't grab onto our star here. So we're gonna manually track the star. Go to our manual tracking tab. Let's bring up the track view. And we just control click on that star. We can find a good edge here. The middle X is where the tracker is put down. The outer box is where it's gonna look for that tracker on the next frame. So if your footage moves really fast and it moves out of frame, it's gonna lose it. But as long as it's inside of this box here, it will find it. You can also keyframe this, and I'll show you in a second. Also, if you have trackers that are different colors, like this book here is kind of this green blue color, you can go to the color filter, and it's kind of in between green and blue, but if you play with those settings, it's going to be easier for it to follow it. So you could do that. That's an option. I'm gonna actually, go back to our star here. We're gonna use this edge, keep it something like this, and manual track. And that is working until here. It lost it, so we can just go to that place where that happens, around here. Just put that back, and that's gonna keyframe it automatically. You manually track it again. And now it is staying. Perfect. So now if we place down something, it's not gonna go right because we need to give the scene a little bit more information. And we need to 3D solve it. So now everything is in 2D space. The 3D solver takes all of those trackers that we had and go back to my 2D tracks. And it's gonna create like a 3D matrix of those points. And it's also gonna create a virtual camera that tracks the same camera movement that you had in the footage. So we're just gonna run the 3D solver. Usually doesn't take that long. But yeah, there we go. Okay, so we can see now that it has keyframed our camera here. You're gonna wanna make sure that it has a keyframe on each frame. If you have gaps in there, it means that it didn't track it well enough. So if we have all of our keyframes here, we should be good. Also, the dots are, yeah, this is the kind of like the matrix that you get. You can kind of make out the screen here, the table. The green ones are good information, the red ones are bad information, and the gray ones are sort of in between. And that is pretty good. Yeah, and this is our auto-tracked ones, and this is my star here. Okay, yeah. Nope. Yeah, we need to give the scene a little bit more information, and we're gonna do that with constraints. So if we go to our tracker tab, constraints, make sure that's selected. We need to give it, firstly, a position constraint. The position constraint is going to set the world center to whatever tracker that you choose. So I'm going to choose my star here. And now if we go out of that, it has moved the world space to my star here. So if we place down an item, it's going to be at that marker. And it's still, if we place down things, it's still, the camera's there, but the rotations are still off. So we need more constraints. No, make sure that's selected again. We're going to create a planar constraint, and the planar constraint needs 3 of those trackers on a level plane. We don't really have exact information in this scene, but I'm just kind of gonna eyeball it to something that's kind of maybe these 3. Yeah, that's kind of good. You can see that it has kind of leveled out the grid with the table. Not perfectly, but we're getting there. I'm also going to add a vector constraint, and that takes in 2 points. And we can try to find a y-axis here. What is going to be good? Maybe these 2. Yeah, great. Okay, I'm happy with that. And now if we place down a cube, we've fixed our rotation, and it's kind of sitting there quite nicely. Yeah, that works out. Okay. Okay, we're ready to open up Redshift, and I'll bring that on this side. Footage is in there, that's good. We're gonna bring in a keyboard. There. Just place it in the scene. Come on. I don't know why it's not reading the textures. Let me actually Okay, there. So we have our keyboard here. I just slightly rotated it so it's kind of sitting on the table there. It's pretty good. We can see that we've lost our footage here. And to bring the footage back, we're going to go into our camera and go into the background tab and just override, bring in the footage. And make sure that that animates with it. So we're animation tab, simple. Make sure it's the right frame rate and detect frames. So now we have our footage back in the Redshift renderer. And we need to give it some light information. And I'm just going to bring in a dome light. And when I shot this footage, I actually shot an HDRI as well. And I use this app called HDRI, so HDREYE. And it's really simple. You just kind of go around and follow these dots, and it's going to shoot, I think, 3 or 4 different exposures. And it's just going to stitch it all together. So it has a ton of light information in that. And what that resulted in is this here. Really good for just effective and simple, quick and easy light information. We're going to bring that in. And just gonna turn off my background here for a second. So I can kind of like rotate that in a way that makes sense. Something like this. And we're gonna turn off the background in the dome light and bring in the background from the camera. Great. It's a bit dark at the moment. We're gonna slightly just turn that up. Just kind of eyeball it. Something like that. Oh. Now we have beautiful keyboard. Great. We're not done. We need to give it some shadows to sell it. And that's really simple as well. I'm just gonna bring in a plane, give it a Redshift object tag. And we go into our matte tab here, and we're gonna overwrite and enable the shadows. So now it just gave us these nice shadows on that table. We wanna make sure that we check this here. Let me turn this off for a second again. Because if we go into our alpha channel, because we're going to be rendering this out as a PNG sequence with alpha, if we don't check that, it's going to give us this plane. But if we check this, it's just going to give us our shadows. Turn this back on. Great. Okay. Yeah, okay, we're ready to add some motion to this. And I want these keys kind of to flow up like this, kind of like this balloony effect. So they're kind of swimming around in the air. So I'm going to add a simulation tag. I'm going to add a balloon. And I'm actually going to turn off the balloon so it becomes a cloth tag. But the reason why I selected the balloon tag instead of the cloth tag is because I wanted these parameters to be set for the settings for the balloon. And now if we hit play, yeah, okay. It's gonna fall through. So we're gonna hit Control D, back to our project settings, simulation tag, and we're gonna turn off our gravity. And now, nothing happens. Because we need to give it a force. I'm gonna bring in the wind force, and I'm gonna rotate it. I always rotate this the wrong way, so is it this way? Definitely the other way. Okay, yeah. Wrong way. There. It's not doing much. Just gonna turn that up for like 19.5. I'm gonna give it a little bit of turbulence, a little bit of randomness in the air that it's gonna be blowing up. Now they're kind of hovering. They're all kind of like single keys. I want them to be kind of like sticking together, like more balloony. So I'm just gonna add a displacer to this. And I'm not gonna put in a noise, I'm gonna put in just a single color. And that's just gonna give it, it's gonna expand all of it. And I don't want it this strong, actually. Something that's still believable as a normal keyboard. Maybe like that. And that's gonna kind of stick them together. And just play around with it until you get a nice result. It's kind of good. I like that. Okay. I've already rendered this out, but to render it, you're just gonna want to make sure that it is rendered with an alpha. You can render it with the background on, but that's gonna be hard to composite. Usually I will set up render layers for this, so I will have my shadows on one layer and the keyboard on one layer, and then I can kind of like tweak the shadows. If I don't want to go through that, I can just I just render it out with the alpha channel. And sometimes when you do that, the shadow catcher can come out a little bit different. Kind of turns more dark. Just to quickly fix that, I just go into my plane and just turn the transparency to 0.5, or you can just play around with this until you're happy with the results. But that's pretty good. And I'd say that's really good results for 30 minutes of tracking footage. So you can kind of see that it is really powerful. And it's really fun to just play around with. Simple and quick. Okay. I also want to show you the object tracker. I've shot more footage here. This is just my hand at my desk, at my work. I placed these trackers on my hand just with a pen, and it's kind of nothing special, but we're gonna make it special. There is a feature in the motion tracker that's masks. So if you have moving things in your scene, you don't want that information for the motion tracker because it's kind of gonna mess up that matrix of dots that I showed you earlier. The mask is just, you can go into your tracker, create mask, and just kind of automatically right. Yeah, if you move it around, it's going to create keyframes automatically, and it's going to just animate and move between the keyframes, so you can kind of mask stuff out. Yeah. So I went ahead and kind of went around my hand. I ended up actually not using the mask. It just gave me better results when I didn't use it. But if you have things that move in front of your camera, or you're going very fast or whatever, I would recommend masking them out. But you can see that I have a bunch of red dots. I don't have a lot of good information in here. It's placing kind of all the green dots here on my jacket and my hand, but this is moving, so it's not, it wants to be tracking the movement of the camera and not the actual things moving in the scene. So I'm just gonna ignore that, and we're still gonna make it work. I've kind of tried to place around these constraints, but it didn't work. I didn't really have any green ones that are kind of level here. Don't really have any like Y points, so but that means that I can just eyeball it and kind of experiment with it. Oh, and I also manually tracked the dots on my hand, just like we did with the star from before. And it did not go into our solved camera here. So, and that's because they are moving, and it knows that it is bad information for the tracker. So it didn't give us that option in here. But that is okay, because if we put in a object tracker, the object tracker is automatically going to bring in the motion tracker, but for some reason you have multiple motion trackers, then you're going to make sure that you have the right one here. And it needs the assigned tracking points of whatever object you want to track. We can't select them because it did not go into this, but we can just go into the motion tracker, go to our 2D tracking tab, manual tracking, and then just bring them in from here and just assign them to the object tracker. And now they're in here. That's good. And the object tracker also needs to take in a geometry object. So if you had trackers in the real life footage, say like spheres, you could measure those spheres and give it, bring in a sphere in the scene, set that to the same size as your physical trackers, and then that would be really good information. But I don't have that information here, so I don't know the measurements of my hand, and I don't have an object that, a model that replicates my hand. So we're just gonna eyeball it again. And I'm just gonna bring in a plane. And like you see, my constraints are way off. Everything's really messed up, but that is the magic of this, is that let me close this. It is experimental, and you can like just play around and have fun with it and just make stuff work. So the plane's over here. This is kind of like my floor over here. This is probably, yeah, that's all the stuff on my desk. This is my jacket. That would be my hand. So we're just kind of placing it somewhere where that would be appropriate. Something like this. Just scale that down. And just kind of level it with my hand here. Maybe something like that. Yeah, that's good. And you can be anywhere in the timeline for this. You can just find a frame that's the best for your footage. If we bring that plane into the geometry object now, and run the 3D solver. Oh, one more thing. Before you do this, you want to go into your motion tracker and actually lock your solved data just to make sure that you don't mess up any of the trackers. So now that's kind of like fully solved and we're happy with the background stuff. We're gonna lock it. So now we can run the 3D solver for our object tracker. And we make the plane a child of the object tracker. And that is tracking pretty good. Great. Oh yeah, what I was saying about the bringing in the geometry object here is that yeah, you can be on any frame here and it's automatically gonna create a keyframe and run it from that frame. And same with like most of the stuff in the motion in the object tracker, it's really good at automatically keyframing stuff, so you don't have to pay much attention to that. But yeah, now we have like a tracked object with not that much information from this scene. So you can kind of see how good this tool is and how quick and easy you can do that. And I've gone ahead and brought in my Elvis plate from the last time I was in Vegas. I 3D scanned it and kind of reconstructed it, and we just look at that. Let me close this so it will handle the redshift. No, not running. Okay, I've already rendered this, so I'll show you in a second. But just kind of placed it at the same place as the plane. Use the plane as a nope. Supposed to be under there. We use the plane as a shadow catcher under the plate here. I might cancel that actually. And you can kind of see that it's just like sticking to my hand. It's pretty good. I would never hold a plate like that, but kind of get the idea. And let me just play that. That's really good for like 40 minutes of work. I'd say both of those results are really good for that amount of time. And of course you would go in here and kind of tweak it around, like set up your render layers. And you can composite this in After Effects and kind of go through maybe your keyframes and your trackers, and maybe you want to like manually keyframe stuff and move it around so it's like until you think it's perfect. But I don't actually need it to be perfect. I'm going for like quick and easy and efficient. I like to just keep a video folder in my phone. If I'm like out and about, just shoot some videos in case I want to use them in 3D space later. So I can just like have a bunch of fun with it. And that's pretty much it for today. And I also realized that I forgot to play my reel earlier. So we're gonna watch that now. No audio, just use your eyes. Finishing. That's it. Thank you.